call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
Yo, it is I, your fearless leader, and welcome back to the Necro Zoo. In this one, we're going to add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we will be taking a look at the Speeding Bullets figure. Now this is a mixture of Superman and Batman from an Elseworlds comic from back in the day. So this is a comic character. I never really got to go to too many comic shops, but I do remember seeing this cover up there on the walls around the same time I would see Gotham by Gaslight and Crimson Mist. These are Elseworld stories with some pretty cool storylines and characters. Now this is actually a pretty interesting character and storyline, and we will be getting into that, but first we'll take a look at the figure. Now he does look pretty confused in the packaging, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. But first, he does come with your standard clear Multiverse flight stand. Now this does come in two pieces. People pretty much know how to put these together. You slip this in there and you display your figure in a flight pose. Add it to the other 100. He also does come with his data file card. On the front you do have some figure photography, slightly rendered, and on the back you do have some information. Now the Speeding Bullets storyline is basically that Martha and Thomas Wayne do not have any children, and instead of Kal-El landing in Kansas, he actually lands in Gotham and is adopted by the Waynes. Now after that, the story pretty much goes the same, as they are killed by Joe Chill in the alleyway, but this time the powers that he is gifted with come out and he actually annihilates Joe Chill with his heat vision. Now this is kind of strange because it's weird because it is Kal-El, but he's actually named Bruce Wayne because he takes the name from his parents. So in reality, it is Superman, but he's named Bruce Wayne, and he's dressing up as more of a Batman style figure, at least at the beginning of the story. Now it has to do a lot with Lois Lane, and she kind of convinces him to not be a creature of the night and terrify people and use brutal force, and she wants him to be a more heroic superhero. And it also has some appearances by a mixture of Lex Luthor and the Joker, which is pretty crazy, but it is in the story. A pretty interesting read if you ever come across it, but I mostly remember it just for the cover. To me, it was pretty iconic. Now he does come with some accessories, which is mainly two fist hands. Pretty cool from McFarlane. I would have liked one more accessory, but in the story he doesn't really use Batarang since he has his super abilities. So the hands were nice, and it is a new complete sculpt. There is no reuse at all from any other figure, so he is definitely worth the price even without another accessory. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. Just first impressions, this is one thing I always remembered was the symbol, that it has that shield shape but with the Batman emblem inside. This one is done very well. Painted and actually a little gloss yellow, which to the eye looks really cool. Can't really pick it up on camera, but it's just a more glossier yellow emblem. Has a nice shine to it. The figure in all is really nicely proportioned. This is definitely one of the better Batman style bodies. Even though we have gotten many from McFarlane, this is just taking it to a whole nother level. Looks really, really good and a little bit menacing. As I've always said before, when you cannot see somebody's mouth and all you see is like some beady eyes, it's a little bit more horrifying than being able to see some kind of humanity in there. So I guess that's what this character was going for, but they definitely did a good job. Let's take a look at the head sculpt. You could see some features underneath the mask, which is really nice. It just goes to show the sculpt work that they did on this head. Kind of reminiscent of the Azrael Batman, but this one has a little bit more stern structure underneath. You could really see it. Just the bone structure, the high cheekbones can be seen through the mesh of the mask, so that's pretty cool. You even have some brow lines in there, so all in all, beautiful head sculpt. Let's take a look at the articulation. He can look down really well. He actually looks up amazingly, one of the better articulated heads, even though McFarlane actually has a lot of good articulation. It's just usually when they have hair that it's a little bit different, but the hair restricts them. But simple heads like this are really, really articulated. He does have right to left, and you can tilt his head for some character. Pretty awesome with the head sculpt. Like I said, taking a look at that chest emblem, really well done. A unique belt sculpt with the trunks there. You do get that upper gray tone with the black trunks to like break up the composition, which fits really nicely. More of a traditional Batman color scheme on this one, and it works really, really well. Let's take a look at the waist articulation. You do have side to side, full range of motion at the waist, lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel, so you can twist them, get them in some cool poses. He does have crunch, a lot of crunch forward actually, and he can lean back for some cool flight poses. Really well articulated figure. Definitely taking a step up in the ab crunch area between this one and the Batrocidus. Really taking it to the next level. Let's take a look at the shoulders. You do have a butterfly joint in there, so you do get up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, and double jointed elbows that actually look really clean. Going down from the shoulders, he does have some stylized sculpt work here, like some ribbed area on the costume, and that is comic accurate. And then you go down into some beautiful Batman gauntlets that have their gauntlet blades transitioning into some very cool clawed hands. The wrist ball, once again, is well hidden, and it is actually sculpted. You can actually even see some wrinkles in the wrist ball joint, and it still has hinging and pivoting for increased articulation. Awesome work. On the other side, you have the same thing. Get him into a T-pose pretty easily. Can move up a little bit more, but you could definitely put his arms forward and get him raised above his head. He does have these cutouts where you could actually put his arms forward like this, which looks really good and gives it a lot of range of motion. Nice. Going down to the thighs, let's check out the thigh swivel. Pretty good range there. You do get a lot of movement. You can kick up really high and kick back even higher. This is allowed by the rubber in the trunks, and when you put it back, they go back to their original form. You can cock his leg out. He does have that sweet hip rotation. Double jointed knees, awesome. Straighten them back out. You do have up and down at the ankle, right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Now before we go, let's take a look at the legs. Beautiful design work here. It does come straight from the pages of the comic. You have that rib texture on the side, moving down into the boots. Now look at these ankle joints. They are just perfect. The way they're sculpted in and their range of motion and smoothness of articulation is just unmatched. This is how to do it, McFarlane. It looks really good. Beautiful aesthetics on this figure. I mean, just like I said, the figure flows really nicely and all the body parts are nicely proportioned. Looks really, really good. Take a look at him from the bottom. He does have some semi-tread there, especially on the outer part of the boot. And then going up, more cool sculpt work. Back of the trunks. You can see all the sculpture even in the belt, and then moving into the back. Really well musculared figure, looks awesome. Check out this cape. Beautiful cape, has tons of wrinkles in there. It's actually really pliable, but a little bit thick, but still fits well with this figure. And then moving up to the top, take a look at how it matches up the neck part of the cowl with the cape. It just sits on there, but it fits really nicely and comes flowing out from under that part of the cowl really beautifully. Awesome, awesome figure. No complaints. This is pretty much looking to be like a 9 out of 10 figure. Between the sculpt work, the originality, the articulation, everything. Just awesome, awesome figure. As always, I sound the same way, that I'm really loving this figure. Every figure I get is like a newer, better version of the last. So really cool looking figure. Now you can pop off his hands and pop on the fisted hands. Really appreciate those alternate hands, McFarlane. Keep it up. Now, before we go, let's take a look at him next to a couple of figures. First, let's take a look at him next to the figures he's made up of, which will be a Batman. We'll use my slightly custom Batman 1000 and a Superman. Of course, my classic custom baby blue Superman. And those two figures come together to make this version of Batman Superman. Now, let's also take a look at him next to Batrocidus, which he actually was released alongside. And I think this was a really big missed opportunity by McFarlane. I'm not sure if he has another plan or something like that. Maybe a gold label from this figure, but he should have released the Kal-El final form version that is actually in the final page of the comic. It is also a unique Superman look, and it would have looked real nice next to this Batman. Of course, you would have got the worms crying out there about, oh, another Superman, another Batman, not knowing that that is basically what funds the line and allows us to get other characters that are actually harder to sell than Batman and Superman, which are big time money makers. But that allows the line to keep going and allows us to get a wider range of female and villain figures and other figures that otherwise would not be made. So, hate to say it, but this figure is really awesome. Like I said, maybe even a 9.5 out of 10. I don't really rate figures, but this one is really cool. Happy to add him to my collection. He's going up there next to his brethren. But you guys, keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.